We're talking about God's kind of formal legal complaint against the people of Israel. We had talked a whole bunch about the men of Israel, the leaders of Israel, and the rulers, and we are then started talking about the women of Zion. Can you do the audio check? That's what his okay. He's pantomiming, and just like in real life, he does it loudly. All right. So we started talking about the women of Zion and what influence and what the level of guilt that they had along with it, and that's what we closed with question number 10. That the decadence that he talks about with the women, you can't separate that from the judgment and the abuse of the poor and the people of Israel. So that's where we are. We're picking up with question number 11. I've stalled as long as I can stall. So let's have a prayer real quick, and then we'll continue with class. Dear God and Father in heaven, we are grateful today for the ability to come here, that we can sit down and study your word. Please, Father, help us to focus on you and your will, and to mine from that will and that word what you want us to do and how you want us to live, not just the actions that we take, but the motivations behind those actions, and that the realization that you love us and you want what's best for us, and that we respond to that love, and not just to the law. Dear Lord, we are grateful for all that you do for us. We ask prayers for those that are on our sick list. There are a great many of them that need your healing and your comfort. And we ask that you give it to them in a full measure. There are many who are dealing with chronic aches and pains that we pray for constantly, Father. And let us not grow weary in that prayer, but realize that the need is great, and pray all the more fervently. Lord, please continue to be with those who are grieving, and those who are traveling, and all the other prayer requests. And through your Son, Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So we are picking up. Yeah, of course it did. All right. Phone went to sleep. Got to restart this one more time. You'd think I would learn to just turn the sleep function off while I have it connected, but I have not done that.
I figured Apple would already just turn it off for you and just read your mind.
You know, I think there is a setting to do that. Called mind reading mode. All right, question number 11.
Let me know how you do that, and I'll try it.
All right. Okay, so we were talking about the women and his indictment against the women. What is going to be, question number 11, what will be the fate of the women of Zion? That's kind of this whole back half of the chapter here. Okay, yeah, we read this last week, and it's definitely memorable. That's right. Can infect their heads with scabs, take all their stuff away. What else?
Sackcloth. They won't have clothing. They'll have to wear sackcloth, which is like a
Burlap. Yeah. Okay, so it's not just that they're going to take away the nice stuff. It's going to be replaced with other stuff. Verse 24 says rottenness. They're going to have rope instead of nice jewelry, instead of a nice belt. They're going to have rope. They're going to have baldness and sackcloth, a skirt of sackcloth. And at the very end, the one that really sticks in my mind, verse 24, the last phrase, and branding instead of beauty. What kind of branding are we talking about? Like Nike's swoosh? Just do it? No. Farmers know what kind of branding we're talking about. This is, a brand is forever.
The literal says a burning scar.
Yeah, he means a branding. Because where are they going to be going? We know this ahead of time. This is no surprise. Brent, did you do this?
I did that.
We're having a lot of fun. Okay, sorry, Estelle, you were saying something. You answered the question.
They would be easily identified as an exile.
Okay, as an exile, come on, hit play. All right. As a slave, that's right. They're going into captivity. They're going to be branded, actually branded. This is a grotesque practice, we understand, but it's what they did. So yeah, they're actually going to be branded. Okay, so that's going to be what the women. It's going to be what happens to the women, and we also had to carry all the way through 4 verse 1. The men aren't going to make it, are they? The men are all going to die, and the women are going to be alone. They're going to be forsaken, and how desperate are they going to be? If you think you're a desperate female, I don't think you're this desperate. How desperate are they going to be? They're going to fight over one man. Yes, they're going to fight over him. They're going to do more than fight over him. They're going to share him. They're going to say, hey, we'll eat our own bread. Well, yeah. Yes, but we'll eat our own bread. We'll wear our own clothes. You don't have to provide for us at all. Just let us be your wives. Because in that society, what happens if you don't have a husband? Well, they're actually okay with that. We'll find our own food. They're okay with the starve part. It's all the rest of the problems that go along with it. It's going to be that bad that they're going to, cling to any man that's still alive and say, "Don't give me a thing. Just let me, let me live here. Let me protect myself. I'll do my own dishes. I'll wash my own clothes. I'll do everything." That's pretty desperate. They're not going to require a thing from him. Okay.
Is that sort of where the Mormons get their idea that a man needs to take care
Well, they get their idea from the general polygamous nature of the Old Testament and the patriarchal society that they lived in, period. This certainly backs that up because no one seems to have a problem with it in this passage. Yes. And that's where they get it from. All right, anything else? Okay. Can someone read verses 2 through 6? Well, the rest of chapter 4 for us.
In that day, the branch of the Lord shall be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and appealing for those of Israel who have escaped. And it shall come to pass that he who is left in Zion and remains in Jerusalem will be called holy, everyone who is recorded among the living in Jerusalem. And the Lord has washed away the guilt of the daughters of Zion and purged the blood of Jerusalem from our midst by the spirit of judgment and the spirit of burnings. And the Lord will cleave above every dwelling place in the Mount Zion, and above her assembly a cloud and smoke by day, and the shining of the flaming fire by night. For over all of the glory there will be a covering. And there will be a tabernacle for shade in the daytime from the heat, a place of refuge, and for shelter from storm and rain.
All right, thank you. Okay, so question number 12. According to the context, what day is that day in verse 2? What day are we talking about?
maybe the end of their captivity.
Okay, the end of their captivity? I don't think it's the end of their captivity. Although, yeah. Well, it is related to that, and it's hard to say it's one particular day.
No, it's not judgment day.
Okay.
It's a day of promise. It's a day of hope. I've got 3 words. It's a day of promise, a day of hope, and a day of salvation.
Yes. The day of judgment, we did this last week. There was one verse, back a couple of verses ago, verse 10. What did verse 10 say? In all this doom and gloom, there's one little verse. And it says, "Tell the righteous that it shall be well with them, for they shall eat the fruit of their deeds." All the rest of this chapter is fire and brimstone, and then there's one little glimmer of hope right here. This is that glimmer of hope. Chapter 4 is describing that one little verse from chapter 3. What happens in this very passage, what happens, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, what happens on the other side of the judgment? What's left? We've talked about this in like 3 times already, and we're only 4 chapters in.
Other side of judgment, either punishment or heaven.
Right. He talked about chapter 3, verse 18. In that day, he'll take away all the finery, blah, blah, blah. There's judgment. Chapter 2, verse 12. Which one's that one? I didn't write down which ones they were. He has a day against, the Lord of hosts has a day against all that is proud and lofty, against all that is lifted up, and it shall be brought low. 2 verse 2, it shall come to pass in later days that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established as the highest of all the mountains, shall be lifted up above all the hills, and all the nations shall flow to it. Chapter 1, verse 25 is probably the most memorable one. He's going to smelt them like silver. He's going to smelt away their dross. He's going to purify them. This is all the same event. He is going to have an event of purification, an event of judgment, and the unrighteous he's been talking about, they're going to get dragged off, and what's left is the good stuff. It's the pure silver. It's the stuff that can actually rest. And so it is and it isn't the judgment. The judgment's not a problem for those who are righteous. The judgment is something to look forward to for those who are righteous. And I think that's what he's talking about, right? Because the next couple of verses are pretty nice verses. I would be encouraged by those verses if they were addressed directly to me. Chip?
I've got my Jewish scriptures here.
And it looks as old as Moses.
And it's 1905 or something like that. It's old. In verse 2 says, "In that day shall the growth of the Lord be beautiful and glorious." In the New King James, the branch is capitalized, and that tends for us to think of Jesus.
All right. He's Chip's fast forward to question 13 here. Go ahead. We're right on to it. So keep going.
Okay. But the Jewish scriptures, the Jewish holy scriptures, they just say, "In that day shall the growth of the Lord be beautiful and glorious." And I think that translation tends not to look so much forward to Jesus, although you can look forward to Jesus, but I think that makes a more direct application to the troubles and persecutions and trials that they're going through right then, or they will be going through soon.
Right. Anyone want to counterman, Chip, now that we're actually on the question?
Sorry.
No, I think that's exactly right. And I think actually the author of these questions was going exactly there, and I completely disagree. I agree with you. It's not talking about Jesus. In chapter 11, he's going to use this exact same kind of analogy, and it's going to be absolutely about Jesus. But if you look at the context, you can talk about the Hebrew words and everything, and it's not the same Hebrew word as it is in chapter 11. You can go down that technical path if you want to, or you can just read it, and it makes pretty much obvious sense. We're talking about judgment and purification, renewal for the people. Some of those words were words Chip used. We're talking in verse 2 and 3 about the survivors, those that survive of Israel, either surviving into captivity or surviving in the land as the sole remnant that doesn't get taken away, although it doesn't work out great for them either. We're talking verse 5, he says the assemblies of Zion. He's not talking about, and I wish I wrote down the way, he's talking about the what, not the how, right? The how of this purification ultimately is, it is Jesus. Ultimately, the how is these kinds of things. But he's talking about the what. He's talking about what he's doing, not through whom he's doing it. So that's why we don't go straight to Jesus, I think. And that was just Chip and I talking a whole bunch.
I mean, you can make an application to Jesus.
Yes.
But there's probably a more direct application for the Jews of the day, those who are going through that of the day, and what they would have to look forward to. But we can make that application, And by our hindsight, I'm going to do it, our 2020 hindsight, we can make that application and see how it points to Jesus in a sense, in a way.
Yes.
But I think the more direct application is probably a word of hope and encouragement to those people in Jerusalem at this time.
Well, isn't that what verse 3 is saying?
And because there's people left in Zion, they're left in Jerusalem, and so if you take the context all together, then I think there's more a direct application in the present sense for them, and not the way off future sense.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about, it is definitely a shadow of the spiritual remnant that we get to talk about a lot in the New Testament. It is certainly, I mean, those thoughts and ideas are generated from this kind of material from the Old Law. That's why the Old Law is a treasure that we can mine. And so when we want to make applications, we certainly should think about Jesus and his salvation and being the spiritual remnant as these people were the physical remnant. But what is beautiful and glorious, right? The branch is beautiful and glorious. In this context, what's the beautiful and glorious thing? Sorry? There were a couple mumbles and then I started interrupting. It's the remnant, right? The people who still care about God, the very few people who aren't thinking about themselves and pillaging the poor and all this other stuff we talked about last week, those few people who still care and who still want to follow God, they're beautiful and they're glorious and they're going to be restored and taken care of, and that's his message. He's not expanding on it much. It's 6 verses, but in chapter 3 it was 1 verse. So, and eventually it'll be chapters. So, okay. Anything on question 13?
After he's wiped out all those evil ones.
That's right. That's that thread. We get a little bit more of that thread this time. That little itty bitty thread of hope that gets woven through. He's expanding on it here for a minute. Absolutely.
And that fast forwarding is the narrow and the wide gate.
The narrow and the wide gate. Yes, that is absolutely the same idea. Right. Okay. Question number 14. I can't even read that. I can't read it on either screen right now. Okay. Well, there's this big glare. Question number 14. What does the Lord create on Mount Zion in that day? All right, so we've talked about it generally. What's he going to create?
A safe place for those who are obedient.
Okay, a safe place. What does he literally call it? I mean, it's a figure. What's the figure? What's the imagery? Okay, a cloud by day, a fire by night. What's the obvious answer of what that alludes to?
The tabernacle, the coming out of Egypt.
Right, the people coming out of Egypt, they had exactly that. That helped lead them and helped protect them and showed that God was with them.
That reminder.
Yeah, it was a reminder. It didn't work very well sometimes. Not. That's right. Not because not because it was a bad reminder, because they didn't want to be reminded. Exactly. Right. So it's that canopy, it's that smoke and fire, but it's not just a presence. It's also, what did you call it? A protection. I don't even remember. A safe place. Yeah. No big words here. We don't need words. It was a safe place. It's that sanctuary. That's the significance of it. We're just speeding through questions. Man, we get hung up on a little thing and a branch and then we move straight forward. Right, that's 15. That's the significance of this thing. It's alluding to the past. It's alluding to the wilderness wanderings and its presence over the tabernacle and its protection from the elements. Yeah. All right. Miss Gail just got them all. So we're done here. I did have one more thing that we generally... Chip's like, hey, I talk too. One more thing. In the background texts, that were there. What were the, if anyone remembers, if they didn't do this lesson like 3 weeks ago or something, what were these background texts about? It was the end of 2 Kings and the end of 2 Chronicles, so that's pretty important right there. What was all that about?
bad things.
The bad kings. That's right. The declining years of Judah, the fall to Babylon. This is Babylon's nibbling at their heels and finally just takes over and installs a puppet king, and that king, often revolts, and so they get rid of him and they install another puppet king, and it's that kind of stuff. It's the last kings. It's the squabbling. Some king doesn't do right, and they kill him in his sleep and take over. It's not good. Is it a great way to go out? Did they go out with a bang? No, they kind of went out with a whimper. Okay.
Just like it's slow going down the drain.
That's right. Yeah, normally it speeds down the drain. They just kind of went slowly going down the drain. Absolutely. That's another good image. Okay, everybody, let's go ahead and switch on to lesson number 4. This is chapters 5 and 6. I did go ahead and I grabbed that chart from the beginning of the lesson material and colored in. We just finished up, or we are finishing up the indictment on Judah section, and chapter 6 is the big call to prophecy that we've all heard and read before, I think. So that's just kind of where we are structurally or topically in the book. I'm finding this thing useful continually, so I'm going to keep popping it up there. I did have some edits that I see didn't make it, so we'll see what's here and what's not here. It'll be fun. Okay, hopefully it was just some graphics. All right, in chapters 5 and 6, I had wanted to read stuff, but I didn't write down what my sections were that I wanted to read. Can someone read the first 7 verses about the vineyard? Chapter 5, verses 1 through 7.
Let me sing for my beloved my love song concerning his vineyard. My beloved had a vineyard on a very fertile hill. He dug it and cleared it of stone and planted it with choice vines. He built a watchtower in the midst of it and hewed out a wine vat in it. He looked for it to yield grapes, but it yielded wild grapes. And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and of Judah, judge between me and my vineyard. What more was there to do for my vineyard, that I have not done any? When I looked for it to yield grapes, why did it yield wild grapes? And now I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard. I will remove its hedge, and it shall be devoured. I will break down its wall, and it shall be trampled down. I will make it a waste, it shall not be pruned or hoed, and briars and thorns shall grow up. I will also command the clouds that they rain no rain upon it. For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel. The men of Judah are his pleasant planting. And he looked for justice, but behold bloodshed, for righteousness, but behold an outcry.
All right, thank you very much, Nikki. So question number 1. Under what figure does Isaiah describe the nation of Israel this time? It's a vineyard. Okay, it's a vineyard on a fertile hill. I love this. This question was awesome. Who or what is the vine, vineyard, husbandman, fruitful hill, and all the improvements and defenses, the grapes and the wild grapes? Go.
It's all
That was great. Okay, we'll take it in pieces. Who is the worker or owner? That one actually technically isn't even on there. The husbandman. Who is that guy? God? Yep. See, the one easy answer that's always right. All you have to do is speak up, guys. The next one, who are the vines and the vineyard? They're kind of the same thing. Okay, it's Israel. It's Israel and its people, right? The vineyard is Israel, and all the different vines are the people. That's a okay.
Isn't the promised land also the vineyard because?
Yes. Both physically, and I think that is applicable in both cases. That it is. We're talking about physical Israel as the vineyard, and also just the people of Israel as the vineyard. I think that's both. Those are both fine and correct. The parable holds both ways. Okay, so what all did God do for this vineyard? What did the owner do for the vineyard?
Everything, he took care of everything.
Take care of it.
Everything. He created it out of nothing, right? He saw a nice hill that everything was lush on the hill, so he decides he clears it. Anyone ever cleared a rocky field? I have not. I have a hard enough time getting like rocks and golf balls out of my yard before I mow. Seems I don't know why I keep finding golf balls in my yard, but I do. It's kind of funny. It's kind of annoying. But yeah, he cleared it. He tilled it. He planted it. He protected it, right? He built a tower to watch from it. He built a wall around it, a hedge around it. He gave it every possible provision he could. And then he prepared for what?
Good grapes.
He prepared for a harvest. He built that wine vat. He hewed out a wine vat. No dirt wine vat for him. He got a big rock, and I don't think they ever made them out of dirt. I'm not, not an expert, not a sommelier for sure. So he hewed out a wine vat. So he's scooping out of stone this big wine vat so he can press out the grapes. So he's ready. And what does it actually do?
Goes back.
Well, he planted the best grapes too.
That's right. He planted grapes and was waiting for a great grape harvest. And not only did it not give him great grape harvest, it gave him worthless grapes, even wild grapes. So, were the husbandman's expectations unreasonable?
No,
No.
never.
You plant some fruit trees or some fruit bushes or whatever, vines. You expect something to grow.
Apple tree.
We got no apples off our apple trees this year. The wind blew every blossom straight off of them this spring, and we got nothing. Zilch. Peaches did great. Apples not so much. So anyway, yeah, it was a bitter summer for us. Right. So it was useless. There's nothing else he could have done, and he even says it, right? Can anyone deny that I did everything I could? Is there anything I could have done more to this? And the self-evident answer, because it's a rhetorical question, is no, of course not. What did he... all right, another wordy question. What did the husbandman determine considering the condition of the vineyard? Okay, what did he decide to do about it? Wipe it out, consume it, let it go to waste. All those are correct answers. He's going to abandon it. But he's not just going to abandon it. What's he going to really do to it?
Well, he's going to take away all the protections that he put around it. He's going to burn it. He's telling them it's going to be burned. He's going to break down the walls, take down the hedges. He's just laying it open to the elements.
Why is that notable? Why is that worth having in here? What's important about that?
Maybe what's coming, he's putting in the thorns and briars.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's part of the destruction, right? He is decimating this thing. Why is that?
Asking God not to let any rain on it.
Nick?
You'd think with all that work that there'd be a couple of vines that would kind of squeak their way out and maybe produce a little bit of something. But he made sure, nope, there is nothing going to grow like this.
Yeah, all right, you're a farmer. Would you do that to a field? Would you? Why not? There's a very obvious reason you wouldn't do that to a field.
Your investment.
It's a lot of work. I mean, it's an investment, but even if you're going to abandon it, do you do all this extra work to destroy it? Or do you just walk away? I wouldn't even, if you were really abandoning it, he is going the extra mile to absolutely make sure that nothing will ever happen here again, and Chip's getting insistent.
First of all, he planted the choicest vineyard.
Yep. Best of the best.
The best of the best. I planted that in there. And the expectation of the husbandman was, I'm going to get the best because I planted the best, I did everything, now I'm going to get the best back. And then he says, all I got is wild grapes, so I'm going to wipe it all out. And you have to go back to chapter 2, chapter 1 and verse 25, and chapter 1, verse 25, I will turn my hand against you and thoroughly purge away your dross and take away all your alloy. He's going to take it down into the ground, and it's not because he's already promised there's going to be something's going to be left over. He's already promised that. But what it's going to be is you'll wipe it all out with fire, and only the very small remnant best is going to be left over. Everything's going to be wiped away by this great destruction, because he's already promised. He's already given them hope a couple of times, but I'm telling you again, I'm wiping everything out. I'm taking you down to the ground. It's gonna be burned. It's gonna be trampled. It's gonna be laid waste. It's not gonna be pruned or dug up. There's gonna be thorns and briars. There's not gonna be any rain on it. And all this is doing is purging the dross so that the very finest will once again spring up.
Yes, that's not in the parable, but that is the implication, right? He ends the parable early. Yeah, he ends the parable earlier than that, but that is the implication. You could continue the parable that way for sure. This is about judgment. This parable is just judgment. This owner is judging his field and saying, it is not worth this. I mean, this is vengeance. He is angry that all this work has gone unproductive, and he is going to take it out on this land. I'm not leaving you alone. I am executing my judgment on you.
And this is the judgment that he's promised them over and over and over again, and he's relented. He's relented, but he said, look, if you don't straighten up, it's going to happen. Look, if you don't straighten up, it's going to happen. Now, I'm done telling you, it's going to happen.
Yes.
And when I do allow this to happen, you are going to be astonished at the lengths and the measures that I will take. You are going to be astonished that I would do this thing.
It's also a message that this Babylonian stuff is not God abandoning them. It's not him leaving them alone. Right? Because that's one of the things that comes through and through during the prophets, is that they think God has left them. They think God has abandoned them. No. I haven't abandoned you. I'm coming after you. I'm going to punish you because I want to purify you and get out the dross. And so this is that punishment, that chastisement that hopefully produces a good result at the end. And in some of the other imagery we've had that image. Okay. Anything else on the parable? Blazing a trail. Yes, ma'am.
So when he purifies them, because there were faithful people that were taken into captivity. So is the dross, the purification, getting rid of the wicked people and the righteous that believe remain? Or is it purification of them individually, personally, or is it both?
I think it's both. I think a lot of people will think that they are blessed when they get left behind and not taken to Babylon. However, what do we know happened to those people that remained from other scriptures? Not good stuff. And who did they turn into?
The peoples round about.
The peoples round about, they just merged in with them, or they became the Samaritans if they started migrating a little north.
When Nehemiah and Ezra came back, they were an abomination.
Right. So they may think they're the blessed ones because they didn't get taken, but in reality, the people that were blessed, the people from chapter 3, verse 10, that, the people that are going to do right are going to be okay. The message of Jeremiah was, if you want to be okay, just go.
Yeah.
Put down your weapons and just go, and you'll be fine. God will take care of you in captivity, and he will bring you back. The remnant will come back. The story was always the remnant will come back. Not some of the remnant won't go. Ezekiel and Jeremiah both make it very clear that the people that stay behind are not going to have a good time, and they're not going to be that remnant ultimately.
Well, wasn't there a group that God said, if you stay here, I'll take care of you, but if you go to Egypt, you'll die?
That's also here. That's also true. There is going to be a group that runs off to Egypt, and it does not bode well for them either.
Yeah, God told them to not go back to Egypt, not rely on Egypt, not turn to Egypt. And when Nebuchadnezzar comes in, I mean, when he starts setting up his puppet king, Zedekiah tries to turn to the Egyptian king, and
It doesn't work for him either.
it doesn't work for him at all.
I think is he the one that got blinded and taken and dragged off in gold chains to Babylon? One of those kings that did something like that got that kind of a treatment. So yes, and even way back in Deuteronomy, Nikki looked that one up for us. Way back in Deuteronomy, God says, do not rely on the Egyptians. Do not go back to them for military technology. Do not trust them ever again. Makes that very plain, and he's consistent on that one. Don't trust the Egyptians. So, okay, good question. Did that answer everything okay? I think.
Yeah, I think,
all right.
I think, like you said, I think it's a combination of all.
Yes, and a lot of times there's going to be a multiple choice answer that multiple things can be correct about a prophecy at once. So it can be about the people in that current day, and it can also be messianic. It can be both of those simultaneously and still be correct, which is sometimes a hard thing to wrap our heads around. But then we read, oh, David felt that way, and of course that was about Jesus. Those things make obvious sense to us, at least in hindsight. Okay. Question number 5 is the next section. It's a big one. Let's see if we can split that in half. Can someone read 8 through 14?
Woe to those who add house to house and join field to field, until there is no more room, so that you have to live alone in the midst of the land. In my ear, the Lord of hosts has sworn, surely many houses shall become desolate, even great and fine ones without occupants. For 10 acres of vineyard will yield only 1 bath of wine, and a homer of seed will yield but a ephod of grain. Woe to those who rise early in the morning, that they may pursue strong drink, who stay up late in the evening, that wine may inflame them. Their banquets are accompanied by lyre and harp, by tambourine and flute, and by wine. But they do not pay attention to the deeds of the Lord, nor do they consider the work of his hands. Therefore my people go into exile for the lack of knowledge, and their honorable men are famished, and their multitude is parched with thirst. Therefore Sheol has enlarged its throat and opened its mouth without measure. And Jerusalem's splendor, her multitude, her den of revelry, and the jubilant within her descend into it.
All right, can someone do 15 to 23 then?
I'm sorry?
Can someone else do 15 to 23? Finish that off?
So the common man will be humbled, and the man of importance abased. The eyes of the proud also will be abased. But the Lord of hosts will be exalted in judgment, and the holy God will show himself holy in righteousness. And then the lambs will graze in their pastures, and strangers will eat in the waste places of the low. Woe to those who drag iniquity with the cords of falsehood, and as if with cart ropes, who say, let him make speed, let him hasten his word, that we may see it, and let the purpose of the Holy One of Israel draw near, and come to pass that we may know him. Woe to those who call evil good, and good evil, who substitute light for darkness, who substitute bitter for the sweet, and sweet for the bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes, and clever in their own sight. Woe to those who are heroes in drinking wine, and rallying men in mixing strong drink, who justify the wicked for a bribe, and take away the rights of the ones who are in the right.
All right, thank you very much, both of you. For what 6 sins does the prophet announce woe upon Judah? Okay, first of all, are these 6 items mutually exclusive? Do you have to pick one? No. All right, Brent got it. See, just speak up. No one else got that one. You would have been perfect. Right, these are not mutually exclusive. What's the first one?
Greed.
Okay, greed. Specifically, how?
Unsatisfied. They just wanted more greed, more things, more property.
Okay, stuff, property. Yeah, houses and land is the big one. It being specific to land and houses is important. What happened at the end of Joshua? We studied Joshua last year. What happened at the end of Joshua? I mean, before he dies. Spoiler.
Well, they conquered the land, and then they divided the land up into the tribal areas.
Okay. Every family got some land. What is he accusing them of here?
Gobbling it all up.
You're turning into real estate tycoons. That's not for you. God had laws to prevent this very thing because that land was a perpetual inheritance to the people. And they are sitting here and it's turned into a land. They're annoying the years of Jubilee that are supposed to revert the land ownership rights. They're providing all sorts of these protections to keep the poor from becoming sharecroppers. I mean, they're already going to be poor. At least let them have the land that they're going to work. So, you got the laws of Jubilee in Leviticus. You've got Micah 2 and verse 2 is a good one. If someone can get there before me, can they read it? I should have. Mike is always hard to find when you're standing in front of other people. And then they cover fields and seize them, and houses and take them away. They oppress a man in his house and a man in his inheritance. This isn't a theoretical thing Isaiah is talking about. They were really doing it. And not that we needed, that scripture to tell us. So what's God going to do about it? Verses 9 and 10. What's he going to do about this?
The land is not going to yield like they would expect it to do.
Okay, he's going to absolutely obliterate the production of the land. And what else?
Houses will be vacant.
All right. All these fancy estates y'all are building, they're going to be nothing. They're going to be empty. And eventually what's going to happen? The wandering nomads are going to sit down and eat in your fancy dining hall and let the sheep graze in the junk that's lying in the corner. It's going to be absolutely deserted. I had a picture for just such an occasion. Hold on a second. I should have inserted it. This picture blows me away. Can anyone guess which city in the United States? No. Detroit City. That, I had to crop some of it, but just out of frame, is downtown. That is blocks from downtown. And that's after they cleaned it up.
Yeah.
God's doing that to Israel. Except there's not going to be, nice mowed lawns and manicured sidewalks. Except it's not that nice. That's right. He's going to do that. I could not find a picture of the actual blight in mass. I could only find one or two houses with trees growing out of the roofs, but that's what he's going to do. He's going to turn all of Judah and Israel into Detroit. That's what he promises. They have huge parks. They're growing crops, in the shade of the high rises downtown. It's ridiculous, but that's what they're doing. That used to be a school. It looks like.
Yeah, because the track right there.
Because the track's right there. Anyway, all right. Enough gawking at that. Let's see if I can find my spot. I'm sure I can't. I got too far back. Oh, and now I'm too far ahead. Aha! Do. Hold on, I just went way too fast. 6 sins. Number 5. Okay. I should just ignore the technology. It doesn't really matter. All right, we're talking about the 6 sins. Yeah, he's going to lay waste to the place, and it's going to become just fields. What's the next one? Number 2, sin number 2, verses 11 through 17, basically. All right, the partiers and the drunks, the ones that are the day drinkers, like who are those ladies on the morning shows that like have wine in their hand at 9 in the morning? Wow. All right. The day drinkers and the night partiers, all of them, every one of them. What is the problem that he's talking about the alcohol though?
Disregard for God's word.
Okay, it's not really about the alcohol. Verse 12 and 13 says as much. You do not regard the deeds of the Lord or see the works of his hands. And they're going to go into exile for a lack of knowledge. Sure, focusing your entire life's work on drinking well is a bad idea. And obviously that's not, a plus in this situation. But it's not about the booze.
But that's what some people live for.
And that's what some people live for.
Totally.
But that's the cause of they don't regard God's word. What do they regard? They regard the drink. They regard the feast. They regard the parties. And so
Yeah.
they have chosen one thing over the other.
Life's about that and not that.
And not-
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And
And so what you do regard is the drink and the party. What you don't regard is the God who gave you everything that you have.
Oh, we're over time. Brent, can you go ahead and get that? I didn't realize that we had already skipped out on time. We're going to pick up with the day drunks later on the next go around. And I'll see y'all in October. I hope that's still on video. I hope they caught that on the microphones. That'd be amazing.